Okay, Erev Tov, everybody. Continue the Rambam. More excitement. If you guys have never been as wide awake when we're learning Rambam as this classes, they're really stirring your soul. That's good. So we're on page Lamed Gimel in the Rambam, 5 lines from the bottom of the Sefiria. We're chapter 8.23. And now we're going to give an example of a halacha l'Moshe Sinai, as opposed to something that Moshe explained, that Hashem explained it to Moshe from the text. Ubishvil zeh, and because of this, kishamarnu shiurin halacha l'Moshe Sinai. When they said that these minimum amounts, is it too small? Should I make it bigger? I can make it. I can make it 2 bigger.
Oh, perfect.
1 more. Cost you the same.
Oh, that's great.
You just don't get a lot of width.
You have to scroll more.
Okay, and for this reason, when the Gemara makes a fact, all these sizes, which we'll describe in a minute, Gemara asks a question on it. Gemara Brachos, we did it about 6 months ago. Why are you saying it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai? The amounts are hinted to in the pasuk. Ba'amro, when it's called an eretz chita usaora, it's a land that it has wheat and barley. Okay, so now we got to extend a little bit over here. Okay, it says, so why are you saying that? Is it says eretz. Now he, in my text, it brings the whole pasuk. Here it doesn't bring the whole pasuk. Eretz here is over Gevin Lutain Ramon Eretz Say Shemen Udvash. And let me now extrapolate more from the commentary. What's the Gemara asking? I'm not going to go in great detail, but it said each thing in the pasuk is hinting to a shear. Chita, wheat, means whenever they say that the amount of eating is kedei achilas pras, to eat it in the time it takes to eat a pras, what does it mean? It's the time of pras, which is a half a kikar of bread of chitim, of wheat. And that's eaten quicker than barley. So there's the hint. The shear of kidei achilas pras, how much it's a pras, that's a measurement of wheat, which is eaten quicker than barley. Okay, and a kikar is a meal of 2 meals. So that's hinted to echita. Now, would you have thought of that?
No.
From the word chita, right? So, ora, we're talking about a barley corn. That's a bone of a dead body. It's as big as a barley corn. It's matama b'magdu mamasa. You're all familiar with that. Gefen, how much is a nazir chaya until he has the chartzanim and the zagim, the what do you call it? The pits, the stuff inside. The skins and this, that. To the shear of a revis, for a nazir. Te'ena, okay, we're talking about food that you carry out in a rishus harabin b'chayev achatas for carrying. The shear is the size of a rogeres, a dried fig. So it's a te'ena, a rimon, pomegranate, any cleve. Remember that to be makabel toma, if it has a hole, remember the hole?
Size of a pomegranate.
The size of a pomegranate. Okay, so that's the size of that. That's a long thing. Zay shemen, that's a zayis, a kazayis, the share of kazayis for eating treif and all the other thing. And dvash is considered a koseva sagasa. It's a date, a big date, and that's it for Yom Kippur. You're not chayiv for violating the fast of Yom Kippur unless you've had the size of a date. So now the Gemara asked on all this, so what are you telling us, halacha l'Moshe Sinai? There's a pasuk, there's a hint to it in the Torah. What are you telling me it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai? So what's the answer? So he's saying, Tia Tshuva, the answer is, Shehi halacha l'Moshe miSinai. It's halacha l'Moshe miSinai. Ve'ein l'shiurim ikar lahotzi osanu mimenu b'derech svara. There's no source in the Torah for us to extrapolate this concept of these sizes. Ve'ein lahem remez b'chol haTorah, and there's no hint in the entire Torah to these ideas. Avol nismach hasos. We can rely on it, so to speak. Hamitzvah l'zeh pasuk l'simin as a sign. K'shenotav, and it's like a mnemonic device. Okay, it's not with the topic. You want to know sure? I'll give you a way to remember. If you know the 7 fruits of Eretz Yisrael, now you have a way of remembering the context, out of context, what those things are. And that's what Gemara answers over there. The Gemara says, it's not halacha l'Moshe miSinai, asmachta ba'alma be'kol makom sheskiru. It's only an association, but it's not the real thing. So that's a good example of halacha l'Moshe miSinai whenever it says these ideas, and they're finding psukim to attach. So you're going to ask me, I told that's nothing to do with the psukim, and you're saying, what are you talking about? They farish from a pasuk. They derive the halacha l'Moshe miSinai. They don't derive the halacha l'Moshe miSinai. We use it as a mnemonic device to remember what the halacha l'Moshe miSinai is. We say shiurim are halacha l'Moshe miSinai. Well, how am I going to remember those 7 shurim? Well, they happen to be the shurim that fit in, but the context is talking about all different guys. They talk about tumah, talking about eating, talking about this, that, all these different things. But it's only the association with that, but nothing more than
But
that.
you couldn't derive it. Is that what we're saying? You would not be able to derive it.
Of course, in the Torah, it won't do any of this. There's no connection to it at all.
Mhm.
That's the point he's saying.
Maybe my memory is wrong. I thought we learned this before. So it's bracha, right?
Brachas is also,
Halacha l'Moshe miSinai. Here's the hint in the Torah.
again,
So
this
now
is
it's saying
exactly what we're doing. It's not the hint in the Torah. It's just a mnemonic to
I
remember.
understand that now, but I think
That's
maybe because we were at a different level, we're now going much deeper.
that's right. Okay. Well, now we're digging into the whole topic of this,
Yeah.
right? So we're just learning the Gemara. You just say it's a smach, but it's not. Torah's not talking about it at all. And the last thing on your mind is thinking, it's telling me shurim and these 7, just telling me these are the 7 fruits of Eretz Yisrael. There's a lot of other halachas you can learn from this. You can learn which fruit makes a bracha on before. That is deduced. That you could say is how we deduce. That already would be the 3rd category. Could very well be. Maybe that's what Hashem didn't even tell Moshe. What you go figure out the halachas. Go figure out by learning up the psukim. How you want to shop in the pasuk. But the last thing you think about is a halacha l'Moshe miSinai, that this has any derivative of that. Now what the Rambam's going to do, and we're not going to finish this today. I mean, I could do this chick-chack, or I could do it a little more. The Rambam is going to do now, Bani echlo bekan rov hadinim shenemer ban halacha l'Moshe miSinai. I'm now going to include most of the halacha l'Moshe miSinai. Be'efsher shiakol, and it might even be all of them. It's very interesting with the Rambam saying maybe it's all of them. Maybe either is or isn't, but it's to the best of his knowledge.
Didn't he write a lot of this from heart? Like he didn't have all his farm available.
Could
Remember,
be.
he was running from the Amalek.
Yes, it was not easy. Yes, the Yisbarlach.
Was this documented before? Is he like the first one to actually list this?
I don't know.
I'm sure the Gemara has it.
No, he's going to pick out. There's various Gemaras that say 2 or 3 halacha. You're going to see the way he writes it now. He's going to pick over it. This Gemara says these 2 things are halacha. This Gemara says these 4 things. So from his best memory of the entire Shas, these are the ones that he recalls are halacha l'Moshe miSinai. But to keep himself safe, he's saying, I think it might be all, but maybe I missed one. I mean, it's not the end of the world if he missed one, because he's trying to make a point. Okay, but what are you going to see from all this? These barlacha amitas masha amarti, and the truth is going to come out as I said. None of these laws are a logical explanation through any of the Yud Gimel Meter Star Special. The actually smoke us a pasuk. You can't say, I'm associating it from the way the pasuk was read or whatever. Elal derech asmachta. The best you could have is an association, a mnemonic. Kamosha bemarnu. V'lo matzanu la'olam. We never ever found shechakra and sparos or vilan rayas. We didn't look for logical understandings of Allah l'Moshe Sinai or proofs to Allah l'Moshe Sinai. But we took them from Moshe as Hashem commanded. So again, it's a subtle difference, but I think it's all. I mean, these first two categories are clearly, in theory, laws that Moshe got from Hashem at Sinai. They're both the same in that, but one of them is coined Halach l'Moshe Sinai. The other one is not. It's called the Kabbalah we have of what comes out of the text. So really the only real difference is that one is an explanation of the text that's lacking explanation that Hashem told Moshe, and then things just quote unquote out of the blue that Hashem told Moshe, but it's not saying, okay, this is how you understand this pasuk. You understand the difference now? So when you have the halacha of you cut off her hand, Hashem says, don't read the pasuk this way. Read the pasuk, you pay money. That's not halacha l'Moshe Sinai. That's like, this is pshat in the pasuk. Right. Now, these examples are going to say, well, there's really not a lot in the pasuk that would hint to what exactly we need. Okay? And we will see. Now, I know what the question you're going to ask. And I don't have the greatest answer for this. I'm thinking about it. You're going to say, well, maybe that's a detail of the pasuk that he's now explaining, as you'll see, because I know when I went over this again, some of them it's clearly not connected at all. But these you might say, well, maybe that's what the pasuk means. But he's saying it's not hinted at that. So let's see what he's dealing with. He starts with. What?
When we say the word Torah Shebal Peh, how many categories of Torah Shebal Peh are there?
Every one of those 5 that we mentioned yesterday.
Yeah.
Torah Shebal Peh is a very broad statement, which is the exclusion of Torah Shebal.
Right.
The written law is what you read in the 5 books of Moses. That's all you got in the books of Moses. That's Torah Shebal, which in terms of the percentage of Jewish practice is a very, very small minority.
Mm-hmm.
The Torah Shebal Peh, I don't want to say a number. I mean, it's 99% of our understanding of Torah is from Torah Shebal Peh. Maybe 1% is from Torah Shebal. Okay.
Mitzvahs is just from Torah Shebal Peh.
If you tell us about an esrog, how much information do I know about an esrog? You know how many halachas there are in an esrog?
Oh my goodness.
Hundreds.
Whoa.
And all I know is
the
creates
Gemara?
father. That's it. Now we know from the fact, it says
all the laws of lulav,
lochem, lakachtem, it's got to be full, it's got to be complete. It's all derives from explaining the psukim, but the Torah Shebal Peh is at least 99%, if not more. Torah Shebal is like almost nothing by itself. So all the 5 categories is all Torah Shebal Peh. It's not from the original text. So let's go and do some examples over here. We know that when you bring a korban toda, you have to bring a nesech of shemen.
Yes.
You have to bring oil. We have no idea how much. So chatzi log shemen latoda. The fact you bring a half a log of shemen, that is halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Or revis yayin, or shemen lanazir. The revis, when a nazir brings a korban, he brings some oil with the mincha, right? And it's a quarter log of shemen. So again, the pasuk just says he brings a mincha, with shemen, but it doesn't say how much. So I could hear the question. You're going to say, well, maybe that's what the pasuk says, and all we need to know is how much.
It's the detail. It's providing the detail.
You might say it's the,
we said shiurim. We already said shiurim.
but again, so he's saying that shiurim is halacha l'Moshe Sinai.
We said
We
that.
wouldn't know anything.
We just have to accept that as a principle,
but
because otherwise it sounds like a detail.
Right. So no, it's a detail but there's nothing in the Torah that is, what's going on? This thing just did. I got to start over. Okay. But just one wrong touch.
It's okay, Rabbi. It's just testing you.
Okay. So anyway, so that amount. Okay. Now, next one. Yud Aleph Yamim Shvei Nida L'Nida. Allah say. We said there's the 7 days of nidus, and remember we said there's these 11 days where she's not supposed to see anything, and any sighting is not a sighting of nidus. It don't talk anything about this. It just says, the only thing it says, you can't be with a woman when she's a nida. That's it. Now you could say, okay, so the first part of Torah, God will have to explain what's a nida. Nida has a menstrual flow during a 7-day period. That's not quote unquote halacha l'Moshe Sinai. That'll be God telling Moshe explanation of the text. But we don't have anything about after those 7 days. There's an 11-day period where you're not supposed to see anything.
Nothing.
I never heard anything about that. As somewhere in the Torah even mentions that. So that's a good example of something where if you look at the Torah, all you know is you can't be with Anita. That's it. I don't know anything more about that. I don't know how long you're Anita, all these different things and how many days, this and that, a million halachas. But now there's an 11-day period after the 7-day period that if she sees it's not supposed to see, and she would not be a nida, and there's then it could be issues of a zav or a sava. That's all things that are not mentioned at all. Okay, how about good achis? Good achis is when we say good achis is when you've got a wall, and we say the wall goes up to the Shemai.
Yeah.
Right. If you have a deck, like in my backyard, the new deck where you got the railing.
Yeah.
So we could say the railing goes up to the Shemai.
Yeah.
So if I have schach 10 feet above the railing, that the railing only goes like say 4 feet, we say the walls go flying up. Right. Where's that from? Where's there any idea that that's halacha Moshe Sinai? The lavud, we say if there's 3 tvachim
into the ground.
3 tvachim in the ground, it like goes to the bottom. Well, that's out of flying here. The dove gamakuma, some who say that the sukkah, the wall bends.
Yes, the bending wall.
That's halacha Moshe. He's quoting Gemaras that bunch these up. So he did one grouping. The first one, Revis, Chatzilog Shemin, Revis, Nazir, Achadasor. That's all, in one Gemara. It's Gemara Menachas. Now we quoted the next one. Good, love it, Dofen Akuma. It's Gemara Sukkah. Allah says, I remember that Gemara, I remember this Gemara. So the best of my knowledge, these are all the Gemaras that I'm remembering. Shiurim. Okay, that's the Shurim we just mentioned. The Kasais, all those 7 things. Chatzitzim. A chatzitza for mikvah. We know you got to go to a mikvah. That's all. Who knows anything about a chatzitza? Torah knows anything about a chatzitza. Umechitzin. And certain what's the size of a mechitza? A mechitza has to be 10 tvachim to be considered a mechitza. Allah Moshe Sinai. Oh, thank you. Tefillin al kalaf. The fact that tefillin has to be on parchment. Mezuzah al duch sustus. Remember we said there's another part of the skin that's not fully cut with the skin part. It's like halfway in between of the flesh. So duchsustus can be mezuzah, the sefer Torah, al gvil. Gvil is a different type of parchment. That's all halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Shin shel tefillin, the shin that's embossed in the tefillin. The kesher shel tefillin, and the way you make the knot to look like a yud. Uritzuas shchoras and black straps. Utfillin urubas, and tefillin that are exactly squared. Umavarta, the mavarta is the place where you put the strap through the shel yad. It's tefillin. Halach l'Moshe Sinai. Okay. Yeah.
Did we say that there's no machlokas on all these?
Cannot be a machlokas or halach l'Moshe Sinai. Nobody argues the straps have to be black.
Don't people have different knots? The knot isn't too.
The fact that you have to have a knot is halach l'Moshe Sinai. What kind of knot? There could be different things, but you have to have a knot. The kesher shel tefillin has to be such a thing, and that is the what you make the ritzuos. In other words, with the shel rosh, you make a dalid. With the shel yad, you make a yud. and the shin that's embossed is the shin that gives you shin daled yud. That's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Now, your minig of how you're going to make it look like a yud could look a little different, but it has to be a yud. It has to be a shin and a dalet and a yud with your tefillin. Everybody agrees with that. Now, how your dalet might look a little different than another dalet, that wasn't the halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Didn't say how to make the dalet, just said you make a dalet. That could be up to you. Okay. What's the next thing? Where am I up to? Nichra'os bisora, wrapping up the parshios. The parshios of tefillin, when they're made into a scroll, you wrap them with the hair of the animal.
Yes.
Benisparos begidin, and you sew the tefillin boxes together with the gid, the sinews.
Yes.
That's what you got in tefillin, using sinews. Halacha Moshe Sinai.
And that's how you tell the difference between Rabbeinu Tam and Rashi Tefillin, because the hair is wrapped around one of the parshas, and in Rabbeinu Tam it's right in the middle, and in Rashi it's a little over to the right. So that's where that little thing.
Okay, so that array, but that's not part of the halacha Moshe Sinai. That's just how you're going to do that.
Right.
Kaisvin sever derby joy, you have to write it severed with ink. Umesurbo, it's a sirtu, the etchings into the lines. Halacha Moshe Sinai. How about what age is a girl obligated to be kaya for immorality? What age? So intimacy with a girl that's less than 3 years and 1 day isn't called intimacy. What? That's a shear. Halacha Moshe Sinai. If you have a field that has two different types of wheats, okay, ason garnachas, if you make one, pile, saying peachas, you give one corner. But if you make shtei granas, you're making two separate granaries, no saying shtei pedes, you do two corners. It's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, now other things. Where am I now? Zarone gina she'erin achalim mitzarfim. Certain seeds in a garden, very, very small. They're not going to be connected for kilayim. And if they are, it's echad me'esim v'arba v'novel socha base saw the amount of 1 into 24 in a whole base saw. I don't want to get into it's all halacha Moshe. How much has to get mixed in? Eser netios, you have 10 saplings mefuzarus l'beis saw. If they're in a beis saw regarding the halachas of shmita, chorshin kol beis saw b'shvila. You can even plow with that erev shvis before Rosh Hashanah, even though you're not supposed to normally. But if you don't, it will dry out and it could be you lose money. So halacha Moshe Sinai, this is something you can do right before shmita, a certain type of a field. Equal shel tvela. So what about a pressed ring of figs? Part of it becomes tameh. What about the other part? Tarmi mina tar sheshbo. There's another part that's tar, and you give truma from that. How do you know you could do that? Halacha Moshe Sinai. Hachazan, the teacher of children learning Torah, who normally you're not allowed to read at Friday night in the dark next to a camel because you might tilt it. But a chazan, the teacher who's looking at kids and showing them where they read, we don't worry about any tilting. That's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Ha'isha chogeres b'sinor be'milfem be'nechareh halacha l'Moshe Sinai. The fact that a woman wears an apron before and afterwards, she's chaya for carrot. I think for caring or something. It's also halacha l'Moshe Sinai as well. If you're selling wine, that's a certain type of wine, and it's a lighter wine to drink. You're mixing with a sharper wine, it's harder to drink. There's no considered of cheating a person. Okay, so that the halacha is it considered cheating mixing one wine? It's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. That's what he's saying. You could have the stronger one mixed with the softer one. What about the lands of Amoab? There's halachas of Meiser only during a Shemitah year, so people will be able to not starve to that. Halach l'Moshe Sinai. Whenever you find any one of these halachas l'Moshe Sinai, as we will explain in the Mishnayos, Shama for Hashem become a vessel. Then I'll explain them in greater detail. But still, the fika chayu chelke hadinim Therefore, some of the laws of Yisrael Torah that are based on the Torah, now we could say that the Torah is divided up into 5 parts, and that's going to be what we're going to start tomorrow, the 5 parts.
We go back to the apron. I just want to see how they translate.
Which words? Which
At
one?
the apron of the woman. Just go a little out. A little bit more. Yeah, right there. Whether it's in front of her or whether it's
It's
behind
fun-
her. shoulders.
Is Allah Moshe Sinai.
That's where she can wear it. How she can wear it. She can wear it
Yeah.
in front of her. Or she can wear it
Yeah,
behind her.
yeah. Okay, so we'll get to the 5. I've spoken them out already, the first 3. And now then it's going to get also, what about the machlokas is Beisol Beishamai? That they said they weren't learning properly. So I'm going to figure that out.
Just so I got this straight, so all that, halacha mentioned Sinai, but something like shchuta, where God said you have to check the animal, that's
That the pasuk is screaming out, explain.
right. So that's what do you call it? Kabbalah's?
It's the
it's
first
not-
category.
It's a
Kabbalah-
common.
It's Moshe gave over the explanation to understand the text.
That's not halacha.
Right.
Okay. So
But
that's
it's just
the eye.
terminology. It's just terminology here.
But in other words, there's a text and there's an explanation that Moshe got. That is not halacha Moshe Sinai. That's what he got there.
At the end of the day, it's all.
God did tell it to him at Sinai,
Agree. But these cases.
but it's got no anchor in the text.
Okay.
What's the apron?
I think it's regarding carrying.
Yeah, she can wear an apron in front of her. You know how women wear aprons, or behind her, because it's not the normal way to wear an apron, but she can wear it behind her,
And it won't be.
and it won't be considered carrying in a public.
Yeah, that's in carrying.
That's the laws. of
She
Shabbos.
takes it into Rishus
So how do they
Harabim.
know that? That's the law.
She takes it to Rishus Harabim backwards and forwards. Okay, so
Ron, now you have your answer.
Yes.
Okay, you're happy now?
this is where we're gonna put the,
You ask me questions, Ron. I'll try my best to give you answers.
okay, shkayat, guys, have a great night.